Whether it's trash teammates, throwers, or smurfs, there's a lot of reasons why you could be stuck in low elo. That being said, the best way to climb is by going above and beyond, having extremely high impact in every game you play, and these characters are the absolute best at dominating with the highest win rates in low elo. So I'm gonna break down every character and give you tips and tricks on each one. But did you know that I stream? That's right, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I stream every single week. And if you want some reasonable gameplay with the occasional int and some educational commentary sprinkled in, then definitely give me a follow in the Twitch links down below. Now, the first character I want to talk about to climb at a low elo is Storm. Storm has a crazy win rate this season, the actual highest at a 57% plus in all low elo ranks. If you're in silver, if you're in bronze, if you're in gold, whatever rank, this character is going to help you climb very quickly. Storm has great verticality, and it's hard for a lot of characters to interact with you. Certain tanks are not going to be able to do anything to you. Certain melee characters are not going to be able to touch you. The fact that you can play high in the skybox and still be effective is strong. Now, you're not going to want to do that all the time. There are going to be some times where you're going to want to play with your team and amplify their damage or their movement speed, but recognize that the lower in elo you are, you can't rely on anybody. And I'm being honest here. While helping your team apply a little bit more pressure can be good when people are utilizing it and coordinated well, you also put yourself with your team and you're more susceptible to getting ulted, getting hit by anything under the sun. And I would definitely recommend prioritizing you being hard to kill and staying alive as much as possible, even if that means you're not getting the full value out of amplifying your team all the time. Also, I would say be very careful about popping your ultimate into something like a Punisher ult that can just mow you down. Definitely be careful there. The next character that we got to talk about on the list is actually Thor at a 53% plus win rate in all the low elo ranks. A character that is also going to be super strong all the way into the high ranks and doesn't get banned all that much. It's a character that you can actually play basically throughout all the low elos. And one of the things about Thor that I think is underrated is the fact that he is a fat DPS, but he doesn't have unfavorable 1v1 matchups against basically anybody. Let's say there's a Moon Knight on a roof somewhere constantly murdering your team. Now, Thor gets to fly up, chase him, and if that person wants to fight you, there's a 0% chance he wins that fight. And if he wants to run away, you're just going to be able to chase him and kill him. This is true for a lot of characters, whether it's a Hawkeye alone in an angle, whether it's a support by themselves. Thor can burst through support heals. He can 1v1 almost any character in the game. And the reason that he has such a dominating effect in low elo specifically is it doesn't really matter that you're solo tanking or not solo tanking. I talk about a lot how Thor is not a great solo tank. You can't play Thor as a solo tank past a certain level. Like, I would say once you're in Diamond or Grandmaster, all of a sudden the solo tanking problem matters because people are going to punish you and hook you and stun you if you just stand around and contest objectives. But the lower in elo you are, the more chaotic the games become. And in that environment, Thor is super beefy and kills super quickly, is just the best kind of character. Now, for a couple tips on the character, I would say practice your primary alternate primary animation cancel. Gets you a little bit of extra damage, and you're going to get your Thor Force right back, and you're going to get a little 100 health shield, and then you're going to be able to hit right away. It's a really good combo to know. On top of that, if you want to get more consistent ultimates, make sure that you bash into somebody, drop your shield, your bubble, and then pop your ultimate right away. What happens is when they walk out of the bubble, it's going to do a little damage to them, and it's going to slow them, and of course, they're going to run away when you pop your ultimate. If it's a support that doesn't have a defensive ultimate, they just die, basically. It's really good against DPS as well. Also, Thor ult's crazy good against Jeffel, because once you pop your ult, you can't be sucked into the vortex. So you just stand with your team, he pops his ultimate, you pop yours in response, and then you just kill the Jeff every time. The number 3 on the list, the first support is Rocket. Now, Rocket has a 53% plus win rate in all the low elos, still has a high win rate as you climb up. And Rocket is one of those characters that just gets so much value because he just doesn't care about the nonsense. You just practice his mobility a little bit. He's never gonna die to any sort of diver. And I think everyone that plays in any of the low ranks, they know that people just die all the time. One person will die, you walk up to the choke, someone else will die, everyone's dying, right? Rocket's a character that doesn't have to die, which is automatically gonna put you a leg up of a lot of characters and gonna give you a high win rate. Just because of that, you're more effective when you're alive than when you're dead, right? And then on top of that, you have your BRB, your Resurrect Station, which is so good because how many people just get randomly picked? How many times does your tank, your Venom, just die randomly? And BRB is the way that you can bring them back and basically reset the fight, a fight that you probably would have just lost. Now, one of the things that I will say is that you typically don't want to throw your res station pre-fight always. Sometimes there's going to be a really good spot for it, but other times what you could do is that you could evaluate where the enemy team is going and then throw your res beacon afterwards because you don't want enemies to route into it. You also get to kind of have a good understanding about flankers and things like that so they don't destroy it. And then also, let's say there's a fight that you're winning by quite a bit. You can actually just intentionally destroy your rocket beacon, because if they die, you don't want them to use the rest. You would rather them die and respawn, because the enemy team is respawning too. You're already winning the fight. And then you could just throw it down after the fact, because if you intentionally break it, it's based on how much damage that it took. So if it's full health and you just break it intentionally, you're gonna only have a 5-second cooldown. You can replace it right away. And also, something that's super underrated on rocket is you can choose who dies. So like in a situation where your tank is low and your DPS is low, and you can only heal one of them because they're both playing apart from each other, it's a lot of times better for you to heal your DPS, intentionally letting your tank die. So in a way, you're kind of choosing who gets respawned, because the tank life is more valuable. They get the BRB usage, and you guarantee get value with your heals. It's an interesting dynamic here. We go over it in a lot more detail in the rocket guide. You can definitely check it out down below. Now, number 4 on the list, we got to talk about Magic. Magic with the 56% plus win rate in all the low elos. Even in the high elos, Magic's winning a lot. And why exactly is Magic doing so well? Well, once you learn the simple interactions around Magic, doing the simple combos and attacks and engagements, all of a sudden, this is a character that has crazy 1v1 dueling potential. We talked about in low elo especially, games kind of devolve into more of a death match. And a character that can just basically win a 1v1 with almost any character, walks around the corner and fights, is a good thing. That's a good place to be. Something that you'll see also is there's a lot less peel. Anyone that plays in silver, gold, plat, any of these ranks, they'll tell you when they get jumped on, no one comes and helps them. So playing a character that abuses that fact is gonna get you more free wins, and Magic does just that. And I think the third reason is the fact that Magic doesn't have to play just dive. She could play brawl on the front line, helping your tank confirm kills and apply pressure. She can play more all-in, dive the backline, get a pick, or a combination of the two. There's a lot of flexibility in this character's kit, and I think all this combined, it basically makes her the perfect package of a DPS that I would highly recommend. That's not only going to carry you out of low elo, but also is going to be a character that you could whip out all the way in the highest ranks of play. Now, with Magic's ultimate, you can actually one-shot characters like Cloak and Dagger out of their defensive ultimate because you do enough burst damage, which is pretty crazy. The number 5 on the list, we have Penny. And Penny's a tank that has really high win rate as well in most ranks, and especially in the low ranks. I think Penny gets additional extra benefit, and there's a lot of reasons why. Number 1 is that Penny is a character that heavily punishes players for not respecting her utility, not breaking her utility, and not really understanding certain aspects about her. You walk into a triple mine threat, you die instantly. You walk around certain areas, you're gonna get swarmed and killed. You don't destroy the generator, you're gonna have a terrible time. The less people understand about what Penny does, the more and more value she gets, and no one understands what Penny does for a long time. Even all the way up in Diamond and Grandmaster, some people still don't know. Now, if that was it, Penny wouldn't be good enough. But the thing about Penny is that there's crazy amounts of skill expression on the character. Your grips are so good at denying ultimates. You can deny divers coming in. Anything that doesn't have CC resistance, you can shut down with Penny's grips. Yes, it's a skill shot. Yes, it's gonna take some practice, but once you do and once you have it, you're gonna be insane on this character. On top of that, if you're at full HP, you're constantly gonna be getting an additional overshield regen if you're playing on top of your nets, and you can just play in certain areas and positions that are impossible to root you from, almost baiting enemies in, and a lot of enemies will take that challenge and just die to you over and over and over again. I would highly recommend setting up trap plays with triple mines as well. Penny also has crazy amounts of depth and advanced skill that can carry you into the higher elos of play. And just like with Thor, I think the fact that she's not a great solo tank matters a lot less the lower in elo you are. So don't let that stop you from picking up the character and playing her a lot more. Now, the next character is Mantis, a character above a 52% win rate across all the low elos. And Mantis is the character that I recommend if you are playing strategist and you feel like your DPS are letting you down, don't carry enough, and can't get the job done. Okay, Mantis is like a DPS support hybrid, capable of carrying probably harder than even DPS can, and you get to have the best of both worlds, where you give your team enough heals to function, but you could take matters into your own hands. You could win 1v1s against almost every DPS in the game. You can apply a crazy amount of pressure. You have a top tier ultimate. There's so much about Mantis that's incredibly good, and I think that especially just not being a support that gets put into this passive role where you're just sitting there and healing and playing off your ultimate, you're putting the game into your teammates' hands too much, where Mantis kind of just gets to do whatever you want if you're good enough on this character. You have pretty fast mobility, you can linger around the fight, only healing when you have to, and just try to get kills and get damage-based value. Mantis is so freaking good at that, and your sleep is so forgiving that if you ever do a little bit of damage to somebody, you could literally chuck a sleep at them, run up to them, and finish them off and get a kill. It's actually really hard to punish Punish Mantis as well with 275 HP, the ability to trigger a heal on yourself, and really high burst damage. Mantis is just one of the best duelers in the game. I honestly think this character is like a DPS that's just better than most of them, and you're also a support. Just fantastic character overall. But I will say, when you're trying to spam from range, make sure that you're putting your crosshair head level to get more easy shots where you're not flicking nearly as much. I think letting your movement do a lot of the heavy lifting and using good crosshair placement is reasonable. And then also make sure you're not using your ult purely defensively. Run in, try to get a kill. It's not a defensive ult. It's an ult that's made to win you team fights. If that means using it aggressively, if that means to use it to confirm a kill, whatever you use it for, if you're winning fights with it, then it doesn't really matter. Now, number 7, a character that you might not expect is actually Black Panther. All the way up to a 55% win rate in gold and even a above 50% win rate in silver. This character is actually dominant at low elo. It seems weird because a lot of people really say this character is bad, unplayable. Tier list will put him rather low, and it's a character that definitely falls off as you climb higher and higher with so many immortality abilities, people being able to react and stun you. There's a lot that can shut down a Black Panther even if they're good. But the lower in elo you are, the stronger this character gets because players are not peeling for each other. They're not reacting fast enough, and you just have to go through really easy set combos to just kill people. This is all you're gonna do. You're gonna set up from a high ground place using the third person to look at the targets that you're on, typically supports, and you're just gonna wait for your team to apply pressure. Now, do they have to apply pressure to the supports? No, but you want them to be applying pressure somewhere, to the front line, to an off angle, whatever it is, and then you come from the high ground specifically. It's gonna make it really hard for them to interact with you. You throw one spear, you dash. You turn around, you throw another spear, you dash, and then if they're low, you can kick into them, or if they're not, you can kick out and then climb away and then reset. This is not something that is that hard to master. Like, Black Panther players will kind of convince you that this is extremely difficult to master and extremely difficult to learn, but just spend a little bit of time in practice and you're gonna learn how to do this rather consistently. And in low elo, players are getting no peel and they're not reacting fast enough to stop you. I think one of the things that keeps players in low elo in general is that they don't respond well to pressure. All this pressure with, oh, I have to hit a ability that will stun somebody. So applying all this pressure at the same time they're dealing with all this other pressure just has them crumble, has them fold, and that's why Black Panther dominates so much at low elo, because players don't have the reactions, and it's really easy to learn how to apply that pressure on Black Panther. It's not some crazy complex thing, and I would highly recommend trying Black Panther to carry harder than pretty much any other character, especially at low elo. Now, the number one thing that you should be abusing if you're underneath the diamond rank is synergies. There are certain synergies that are just crazy busted that can't be banned out, and they're so objectively powerful that you'll just win. And all these synergies have near a 60% or higher win rate at all the low elos. This means grab a duo either in the academy or in my Discord and run these synergies and you will freaking climb. Here's the ones that I would recommend. First off, the simple one, Rocket Punisher. Not Rocket Bucky or any other combination. Rocket Punisher in particular is the best for bullying tanks. Oftentimes, you will not have a ton of tank players. You won't have particularly good tank players, and there are a lot of tanks that people play, from freaking Penny to Thor to Groot. All these tanks get abused by Rocket plus Punisher. All you have to do is just have good communication. The Punisher takes an aggressive angle and just shreds. Kill Groots, break walls. You ever have problems with any of this stuff, Rocket Punisher will deal with that problem. One of the best synergies that you can run, has a 57+% win rate. I think it's just a really good overall synergy. And also, y'all could both take an aggressive angle that otherwise you couldn't take, set up in a turret spot that is kind of adjacent from your team, and the Rocket can play there too, because the Rocket can still heal the main team from that position, and they can basically apply pressure and heal the Punisher as well. Now, the next synergy I would recommend is actually Cap, Thor, Storm at above a 60% win rate, actually over 65% win rate in a lot of these low elo rank games. And it's just because it's a combination of a lot of really powerful characters. Thor is already strong. Cap is very hard to interact with and applies a lot of pressure even if he can't kill. And then Storm does apply that kill, right? So you got plenty of lethality. Cap becomes more lethal because of Thor. Storm becomes more lethal because of Thor, even though she didn't even freaking need it. And this trio together just is great. I think it's one of the best trios that you could run in low elo. You're just going to give your opponents more problems than they can solve. It's a very difficult composition to deal with. I always say, do something objectively powerful. Make your opponent answer y'all. And the opponent's not going to have a great answer. Are there answers to this composition? Sure. If they go Namor, Luna, Bucky, and really are very vocal and communicative and deal with y'all perfectly, yeah, they could maybe shut y'all down. But reasonably, that's not going to happen in 10 freaking games. And you're just going to win and win and win. And even combinations combinations of this, as long as you're playing Thor, Thor Storm, Thor Cap, all great combinations. Now, the most broken synergy undoubtedly in my mind is Loki, Thor, Hela. This is a synergy that is so freaking strong. You don't need all the pieces, but you need the Hela. Hela being able to get a final blow and resurrecting Thor, resurrecting Loki, or both of them together is absurd. It's like ultimate level in power. This puts the highest mechanical requirement on the Hela. I think if the Hela is a great performer, it allows the Loki and Thor to just carry in a crazy amount, the Hela to resurrect them to a crazy extent. But if the Hela can't hit her shots, isn't playing particularly well, then you're not going to get the full value out of this synergy. If you set this up and you have a good Hela player with a good Thor that applies pressure, makes the job easier on the Hela, and a Loki that is not afraid to be proactive, take proactive angles, and help confirm some of these kills as well, this is an insane trio. It's so freaking strong with so much flexibility. You got Hela ult, you got Thor ult that can bait out defensive ults for the Hela ult, you have Loki that can copy Hela, copy a defensive ult, a cloak and dagger on your team. There's so much there that gives you the opportunity to carry. I think it's literally one of the strongest trios, not only in low elo, but in high elo as well, assuming that one of your pieces doesn't get banned. Really freaking strong, and I highly recommend abusing synergies if you want to climb, if you want to get out of some of these low elo ranks, and you want to go to some of these more reasonable games. I will say flat out that once you get to the ban system, diamond and above, the game becomes way more fun. So do yourself a favor and lock in and at least grind there so you get to enjoy your games more. That's just my personal opinion, and I hope that this has given you some insight into some other characters you can add to your hero pool that can help you do so. But of course, any character can get you there if you're dedicated enough. Definitely let me know what video you want to see next. Smash that like, subscribe, and check me out on stream Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.